My name is Arden Neiman. I am 14 years old and am the youngest of my 4 siblings. I have lived in Texas my entire life, where my ancestors before me have lived for generations. My mom, Tracy Lynn Deering, gave birth to me at 31 years old. She grew up in deep West Texas alongside her older sister, where the land is flat for miles and marked by countless farms. Her father, Lowry Charles Deering, was one of 4 children, the youngest sibling of Billy Mack, Jerry Nell, and Suzanne, but I know him as Dadaw. Dadaw's mother was Dorothy Ray McDaniel, a calming presence that never failed to bring peace to those around her. As the middle child of 7 children, her kindness was welcome in the wilds of rural Texas. The oldest child, Noble Sylvester, led the family and was followed by Edgar McDaniel, affectionately known as Boots. The third child and eldest girl was Pauline, or Polly as her family called her. In 5th and 6th place in the sibling lineup were Mona and Noe, the twins, with Charles Leonard McDaniel taking up the rear. In a time strife with sickness, poverty, and an ever-developing world, life expectancy was only 40 to 50 years old. But some were not blessed with even that much time. Pauline, Dorothy Ray's only older sister, left this world at the young age of 11 years old, just shy of her 12th birthday. This loss was exceptionally hard on her father, Charlie Chester McDaniel, as well as her siblings. Dorothy Ray's life was marked by this early loss, losing her sister at only 6 years old. Dorothy Ray would spend the rest of her life mourning her sister, keeping her memory alive only in small snippets of stories shared with her children. The year is 1927, and my great-grandmother Dorothy Ray is 6 years old, and her big sister Pauline, who is only 11 years old, boarded a train from Snyder, Texas, and headed to Brownwood, Texas, to visit their grandparents' farm. Since the girl's mother, Lena, was ill, or at least thought she was most of the time, Pauline took on most of the mothering roles of my grandmother. Needless to say, Dorothy loved her big sister and looked up to her immensely. They rode the train without incident and met their grandparents at the station. The 2 girls were beyond excited to play at the farm with all of the animals. Later that evening, Pauline started having pain in her side, but they had been playing and helping around the farm, so they thought maybe she just had a pulled muscle or even ate something that made her a bit green. But as hours passed, her condition worsened. This situation was further complicated by the fact that my grandmother's mother, Lena, was a Jehovah's Witness, and that religion was adamantly against medical intervention. When little Pauline's condition continued to deteriorate, her grandparents finally agreed to see a doctor. This doctor was later confirmed to be a chiropractor, and this was a new field of treatment and focused on maneuvers in lieu of medications, so in turn was accepted treatment in their religion. However, when the chiropractor stretched and moved Pauline, she writhed in pain. What they didn't know at the time was that Pauline's appendix was extremely inflamed. Appendicitis is a very, very serious condition that to this day usually results in immediate surgery. The risk of an appendix rupture is so high when it is inflamed. The rupture could result in serious infections and in some cases, even death. And unfortunately, in Pauline's case, when the chiropractor stretched, popped, and moved her body, her appendix ruptured, sending infectious fluids throughout her tiny body. Without antibiotics, Pauline went home. She spent the next few days in pain, getting more and more ill. Her fever was ravenous, and eventually, little Pauline died in her grandparents' home. Dorothy was understandably traumatized and didn't speak of Pauline very often, even in her later years. My grandfather is Dorothy's youngest son. As a child, he would play in the basement of his childhood home, and long avoided the apple crate in the corner with 2 wooden dolls on top. This was because he knew that it was his Aunt Pauline's. He remembers his Grandpa McDaniel coming to visit and heading to the basement to go through the crate. Grandpa McDaniel was everyone's favorite person, always kind, smiling, and happy. He was from Scotland and spoke Gaelic. But as he sifted through the crate, he would cry while singing the Gaelic lullabies that he always sang to his children before bed. As he continued to weep, Grandpa McDaniel profusely apologized to Pauline. He always felt so responsible for her death because he wasn't with her and didn't get her the medical treatment she needed. When my grandpa got older, curiosity got the best of him, and he moved the 2 dolls and opened the box. It was packed to the top with dresses, photos, doll clothing, girls' shoes, and things that were special to an 11-year-old girl. My grandpa said the smell always struck him. He described it as an old, musty smell, but different than that of just old clothes. And since there aren't many photos from this time period, very few exist of Pauline. The McDaniel family was poor and lived off their land. They farmed for a living and worked very hard. They were kind, forgiving, and thankful to be in America. While simple, they understood the importance of family and history. They kept Pauline's story alive through verbal stories of her life. I think this story reminds us to be thankful for the advances in modern medicine. If Pauline had become ill today, her grandmother would have so easily reached for her cell phone, spoken to a medical doctor, and gotten in to see a specialist immediately. Within hours, Pauline would be resting comfortably in bed post-surgery, sharing popsicles with her little sister Dortha. She would be on an antibiotic regime to prevent the infection that took her life years ago. We take these advances for granted, but must remember that my grandma's story wasn't so long ago. Listening to my grandfather telling me the story ignited a passion for more stories from his past. I realized that so much of our family history isn't written in books or even held on photographic paper. These stories are held safely in the memories of our older generations. We are responsible for listening, asking, remembering, and retelling these stories. If we don't, these moments, including the short life and death of sweet Pauline McDaniel, would be lost forever, and her life would be forgotten. So take this story as a reminder to engage with your loved ones this holiday season, and as annoying as it might seem, listen to them, ask questions, take mental notes. You never know, you may be surprised by what you learn.